My name is Welcome to the second episode of CyberTalk, where we want you to stay aware to show you care. We are very excited that you are here today, and we have some very new but interesting content to share with all of you guys here today. Just a quick reminder, we are live every other Tuesdays at 8 p.m. EST or 5 p.m. EST. Make sure to follow our social media and website at www.K12CyberTalk.org to follow for more updates and resource links. So before we get started into the show, how was everyone's week? And are you guys excited for Thanksgiving?
Thanks, Krissa. Hi, everyone. My name is Sydney, and I'm currently a senior in high school. And my Thanksgiving break is going to be amazing, hopefully, because I need to catch up on a lot of sleep. And I'm really looking forward to it. How about you, Timothy?
So hi guys, I'm a junior at Troy High School. My name is Timothy Kim, and I think so like Sydney, we also got on Thanksgiving break, and I think I'm gonna start being able to relax more and be able to spend more time with my family. And I'm really looking forward to having some good food over Thanksgiving. How about you, Jacob?
Hi, so my name is Jacob and I'm a senior in high school. So I'm looking forward for this Thanksgiving break. Is probably doing my college apps that I didn't do until now. I did my UC apps like legit like 30 minutes before this show. So yeah, it's been going pretty well. But it's been a pretty slow week. I had cyber practice today, but yeah, it's been going all right. What about you, Anusha?
Hi, I'm Anisha, and I'm a freshman in high school. But yeah, I'm really excited for this break because I feel like it just lets me let off from school and gives me a break and also prepare for a finals week that's coming up in about 2 weeks. So yeah, what about you, Deja?
So my week has actually been pretty good considering we just started break. I like it a lot because I get to sleep in now when usually I have to wake up really, really early, and then it's just school at the top and pajamas at the bottom. So now I can take my time to actually get dressed and start my day. What about you, Sky?
Yeah, thanks for asking, Deja. So I'm really excited for this year's Thanksgiving because even though we can't really get together with people due to COVID, I'm really excited for a really delicious Thanksgiving dinner. So that's something to always look forward to. How about you, Anna?
Hi, my name is Anna. I am a senior in high school, and like everyone said, I am very grateful for Thanksgiving break. There's a lot more time to sleep in and to work on college apps, so I am very grateful for that. And what about you, Bethany?
Hi, I'm Bethany, and I'm also a senior in high school. And I, like everyone else, am ready for Thanksgiving break so I can get caught up on a lot of work. Does anyone have any fun Thanksgiving traditions?
With my family, we just eat a lot, watch football, and make bets on the game, and then make fun of whoever's playing because we're really diehard fans and everyone's not supporting the same team, I guess you can say. So that's one of our traditions. What about you, Anne?
One of my family traditions, basically we have the traditional Thanksgiving turkey and ham every year, but we also have Chinese food on the side every year. So we have lamb skewers and hot pot, and it's just a very delicious meal overall.
That sounds amazing. My one goal or dream in life is to try hot pot. I've never tried hot pot before. But similarly to you, Anna, my family and I do a mixed tradition. So we have like an American style dinner where we have turkey and stuffing, macaroni and cheese. But then we also have like Korean style dishes. And so we get the best of both worlds.
A tradition that my family does is that actually no one in my family really likes pumpkin. So instead of the pumpkin pie, we actually get Banberry pie because there's a pie place right next to our house and that's kind of their specialty. So I guess while everyone else has a lot of pumpkin flavored desserts, we get banana strawberry pie.
I know my brother, Ben, he absolutely loves pumpkin pie. So sorry, Sky. But my family's very split on what pies they like. So we'll have 3 to 4 different pies. There's the pumpkin, cherry, chocolate mousse, and depending on if we have this stuff, there might be a lemon meringue.
Wow, I'm really glad that all of us are all fortunate enough to eat very yummy and delicious food during Thanksgiving. And it is the month of giving thanks. So I was just wondering, what are you guys all thankful for? I'll start off. I'm thankful for the show and the opportunity to meet everyone here, part of this K12 CyberTalk.
I agree with you, Carissa. This whole experience is something to be thankful for, but something I would say that I'm thankful for over this time, is the opportunity, because I do have a lot of work that I need to catch up on.
Something that I'm thankful for is meeting everyone on the show and having a wonderful opportunity to expand friendships. But something more traditional, I would say, is that my family and friends are safe. No one has had COVID that I know of, but everyone's been safe and sound in our homes.
Something that I'm thankful for, like everyone said, I'm really excited about this show and about meeting everybody here. And I guess something a little bit more casual is that it's the season for Starbucks holiday drinks. So it's something that I really look forward to every year. The red holiday cups just put me in the right spirit. And the drink that I recommend if you haven't had a Starbucks holiday drink is the white chocolate toasted mocha latte. So I highly recommend that you go out and try one while you can.
Something I'm grateful for, I will go with a more traditional response. I'm really grateful for my friends. Even in quarantine and especially in the middle of college apps, I can always depend on my friends to be there for me and kind of cheer me up. And yeah, so I'm very grateful. And I'm also very grateful for the cast on the show. It was really fun, or it's been really fun so far getting to work on the show together. So yeah.
Cool. So something I'm thankful for is probably my teachers. They put up with a lot of things, and especially me. I'm pretty incompetent, so it's pretty cool that they're still nice to me and they try to help me in any way that they can. But yeah, they've always been that constant in my life. I know I can always rely on them when I need some. But yeah.
I'm really thankful for all of our viewers watching the show right now. Thank you for watching. And we produce this content all for you. I'm also thankful for our teachers as well, adapting to the current times and making sure that they can still educate us even if we are online. An untraditional thing is my laptop's battery life that never fails me.
I'm really grateful for being able to spend more time with my family and being able to do things in this break where things that I love and things that I usually can't do in my free time. So I'm really thankful for that.
I'm really thankful for this show, of course, but then I'm also thankful for my family and friends because with this pandemic going on, I feel like it just let me become closer to them more than I was before to that. And then also I'm just thankful for this break because it just like gives the time to rest.
And I just wanted to read out from the comments. We have like a supporter, and someone named Adrian said, "I'm not in the cyber group, but I came to support my friend Deja, and I'm thankful for family and friends, and that this meeting is cool." We're all very thankful, the entire cast here. We're all very thankful for you, Adrian, and all the viewers for staying tuned to watch this amazing show. So we're glad you're all here. So this is the month of giving thanks, but I heard that Bethany is giving and providing amazing information about cryptography. So I'll pass on the stand to Bethany.
Thank you, Carissa. So for anyone who doesn't know what cryptography is, that is the art of writing or solving code. And there are two different sides to cryptography. You have your encryption, which is where you're taking the message of what you're trying to send and you scramble it up so it's not the original message. And you have to have a key for this to be able to decrypt it, which is just unscrambling the letters to get back to your original message. And cryptography is not something that's just new with computers. it's been around for a long time. We've all heard about sending secret messages. Like in war times when they're tried to send letters, you can't just send a letter with all of your information in it. You have to encode it or encrypt it, send it, and then you have to send your key so that way then your other person can decrypt it. So that way you're not giving information.
Oh, sorry. Thank you, Bethany, for the mini crash course history lesson on encryption. So something that I kind of want to follow up with is how we see encryption, or where we see encryption in our modern day. So I'm pretty sure something that all of our viewers are really familiar with are websites. So actually, if you've ever seen a website URL, you are probably familiar with the acronym HTTPS. And the S in HTTPS actually stands for secure. And it basically means that the data that's being transmitted over the internet is being encrypted. And this is basically to protect the information and also prevent third parties from accessing it with malicious intent. Another place that is really common that I'm sure many of our viewers have used or are currently using is social media. So apps like Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, all of those use encryption to protect their user data from, or their user privacy and data from third-party sources. And next we have e-currencies. So if you've ever heard of Bitcoin, I know that it was pretty popular in the tech world and on the news for a while. They actually use encryption and decryption to keep purchase information, purchase history, and all of that completely secret, which is extremely important because the transaction information can be breached and used with malicious intent by hackers. And another place, the last thing that I wanted to talk about was email. So whether you're using Gmail, which I'm sure many of you guys are using, or Yahoo Mail or Hotmail, all of those use encryption so that the messages that are being sent across the internet are secure and that people aren't, I guess, decrypting that message and doing whatever they want with it. So I think it's really interesting how we went from Bethany's history lesson about how they used encryption during wartime to now all over the internet.
Yeah, and with all this talk about cryptography in the real world, some of you guys might be thinking that it sounds really complicated, or at least I know that's what I thought when I first started cyber. But actually, cryptography is something that all of you guys can do as well. So encryption and decryption, which Bethany was talking about earlier, are performed through an algorithm called a cipher. So a cipher is basically like this secret pattern or like a technique that you use to translate your message back and forth. And today I'm going to be showing you guys the easiest cipher out there. You guys can learn some cryptography too as well today. It's really simple. You guys can just do it with pen and paper. And if you wanted to try sending secret messages to your friends, it would be good to pay attention. And the cipher I'm about to show you is called a Caesar cipher. It's called this because way back in the BC era, I think 100 BC, Julius Caesar, who all of you guys know, uses the cipher to send secret messages out into the battlefield where his generals and soldiers were. So I'm going to pull up a quick demonstration of the Caesar cipher. Yeah, so all of you guys can see this. It says crack a Caesar cipher. I will be explaining this graphic as I go. So on the left side, there is the plain text unencrypted message. This is in English. All of you guys can read it. I will change it to something easier. So I'll say, hi, everyone. We are CyberTalk. So yeah, on the left side, it is in plain text or in English. You guys can read this very easily. And on the right side, you can kind of see how the to play out. So let me give a quick explanation. So it says original and the alphabet is in yellow. So this is the original alphabet. Like it says, hi everyone, we are talk. This is English to a letter underneath. So these letters will be shifted according to the Caesar cipher. And exactly what the Caesar cipher is, it is a cipher that shifts left or right by a specified amount. So I think it'll be a lot more clear once I show the graphic. But right now, as you can see, the original A maps to the blue A underneath, and it is the same for the rest of the alphabet. However, when I go to the bottom, I can press shift the substitution to the right, and you can see that the blue alphabet shifts over all right one spot. So A originally mapped to A, but now it maps to Z, B maps to A, C maps to B, etc., etc. And I can do this as many times as I want, so the alphabet will shift down to the right, or I can make it go to the left. And you guys can see as I am doing this, the message on the left side does get encrypted, so you can't read it anymore. And yeah, this is actually really simple to do with pen and paper. If you wanted to try it out with your friends, you could write the alphabet on the right side and then just manually count where you want each letter to map to. So yeah, this is a general overview of the Caesar cipher. It's a pretty easy introduction into cryptography. And then just as a recap, messages encrypted with the Caesar cipher are very easy to crack with especially with a computational tool. And then encryption and decryption, which Bethany talked about. The definition for a cipher, which is the generic term for a technique that performs encryption, and then the Caesar cipher. So like I said, the Caesar cipher is a very, very basic cipher. It's kind of like your introductory cipher. And I can link this in the chat below once I stop sharing my screen, and it'll also be on our website afterward. But one more thing I wanted to talk about is an extra resource for you guys. So if you wanted to kind of get into more complex algorithms or ciphers, I recommend this website. So it is called the Black Chamber. It's created by someone called Simon Singh. And basically, once you go to the site, which once again, I will put in the chat, you can see kind of the background on what a black chamber is. So they were secret rooms where countries attempted to kind of encrypt and decrypt messages, like during wars. But the real meat of it, I guess, is in the chamber guide. So if you go to the left, you can click on chamber guide, and you can see all these different kinds of ciphers that you guys could try out. So there's railfence, Latin square, etc., etc. And then earlier we used the Caesar cipher, and you guys can try this out. It's a bit different than the other website, but it's also pretty self-explanatory. There's background for every cipher, and you can even see that a Caesar cipher is within the substitution category. And as you kind of go through the website, you get to more advanced ciphers. And one thing, if you guys are actually interested in learning about cryptography, I would say that the visionary cipher is a good one to learn. It's definitely not the strongest today with such advanced technology, but as it says here, it was a really big breakthrough in the development of cryptography because it was so strong in comparison to previous ciphers. So you guys can read into those. And yeah, so that's your brief overview of cryptography, and I will be linking everything in the chat.
Thank you, Anna, for teaching us how to do a Caesar cipher, and Sky and Bethany for teaching us about cryptology a little bit. So now I'm going to go into an interview with Mr. Mark Loepker. Did I say your last name correctly?
Perfect.
That is awesome. Would you like to introduce yourself to my fellow castmates in the audience?
Would love to. And I'm very happy to be here, and thank you very much for asking me to be on your program today. And what you've just talked about is what I've been doing for over 30 years. I spent 43 years in the government, 25 of that with the United States Air Force. And my last assignment was at the National Security Agency, the home of making and breaking codes. So exactly what you talked about is what we do for a living. I then spent another 18 years as an NSA civilian and retired in 2017 from that job and started doing where I'm currently working at the National Cryptologic Museum Foundation. That is a 501c of an organization that supports the National Cryptologic Museum, which is owned and operated by the National Security Agency. And so the foundation supports all their education programs. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. And I really am happy to talk about these topics. And in fact, I put in the chat room our link to our education page. And while we're fresh in our mind about ciphers, on this, I think it is December 2nd, we have one of the original designers of the public key encryption, Whit Diffie. You may have heard of the Diffie-Hellman algorithm. It was back in the 1970s, in the late 70s. Whit Diffie and Mr. Hellman designed the algorithm that does all the public key encryption. And he is going to be our guest speaker, and you can join that talk for free. So if you're really interested in ciphers, you can hear it from the man who created public key encryption. So we invite you to our website, and that's what the museum does. We share exactly what you just shared tonight, the history of cryptography and all different kinds of cryptography.
That is awesome. It's nice to meet you again, even though I met you like 30 minutes ago. So before we get into the questions, I have a question myself. So
sure.
Growing up, every kid has something that they wanted to be. What was it that you wanted to be?
Oh, that is a great question. Throughout my basically middle school, high school career, exactly where you folks are, I was in scouting. And in that environment, I got to deal with a lot of model rocketry. And so that's kind of turned into my hobby with the Space Merit Badge that we did in scouting. And even I met John Glenn, and John Glenn actually signed my report from that merit badge. And so I always wanted to be involved with space and the space program. And it turned out that towards the end of my military career, I was with what was called the Strategic Defense Initiative Organization, which is the Star Wars, our missile defense. I started out as a missile launch officer and then ended up in that. So my high school, all my science fairs were about launching rockets. In fact, my senior project was I launched 4 mice and tested the effects of acceleration on mice. And so that was a fun experiment.
Sounds fun. Okay, so let's get into the questions now. So can you give us a brief rundown on what the National Cryptologic Museum is?
Would love to. The National Cryptologic Museum is the unclassified museum for the National Security Agency. It's in Fort Meade, Maryland, sits right outside the gate of NSA. In that museum are all the artifacts that deal in cryptology that you guys talked about at the start of this program. It's not only the signals intelligence aspect where we collect signals and process that intelligence, but it's also the protection of information, the computer security, the information assurance. Now we call it cybersecurity. It's all the same thing, just a new term for it. So that museum houses all the way back to the Rosetta Stone, which is prehistoric time, and the Caesar cipher is there. So it has all the ancient cipher codes all the way up to modern day computer systems that are now declassified and too slow for us, for the National Security Agency. So we've got Cray computers inside our museum. If you look up Cray, you'll see that these are the mega computers of years past. And so you can go all the way from the Caesar cipher up to our Cray computers. One of the interesting artifacts in the museum, and I guess one of our crown jewels, is a thing called the Enigma machine. You may have seen the movie, The Imitation Game, where it was about how the British provided the machine that helped break the Enigma, which was the German encryption machine. Just like you did for the Caesar cipher, this was a machine that they thought could never be broken because of the strength of the encryption. And so this tells the story of how in World War II, the Poles initially broke the code and gave it to the Brits. And then we worked with the Brits to provide the technology to actually break the Enigma code, which brought the World War II to an end, I think several years sooner, because we were able to actually read the German messages and they didn't know we were reading their strategies. So the museum talks about how important cryptography is, talks about the Navajo code talkers that we used with their language in various wars in Korea, et cetera, to to hide the language that we were trying to broadcast. So the museum is all about sharing what we do in cryptology.
Okay, well, that being said, since we do have a global pandemic and we're not capable of flying out there to meet you and see all these cool different artifacts, can we virtually do a visit, or it's just pictures on the internet?
That is a great question. And it's one of the things that excited me about joining the foundation. I'm the director of education for the National Cryptologic Museum Foundation. And my goal was to break free of the physical walls of the museum. The museum provides wonderful opportunities for kids who live in the Delaware, Virginia, Maryland area, or people who travel and then stop by the museum. But I want to make sure everyone has the opportunity. And so we've been installing some really cool virtual technology. I have a little robot that runs around the museum. And in fact, your teachers can run that robot, and many teachers had. I had a classroom in Kauai, Hawaii, visit the museum and run the robot. And we have one of our historians, our docents, talk about the artifacts, but from a virtual environment. Because of COVID, we've been working very closely with the museum staff, and they have instituted today, you can go to the website and sign up for a live virtual tour. I think they do them 3 times a week. So you can register for the tour, and they have different topics. They'll talk about World War II. They'll talk about the modern encryption area. They'll talk about the native code talkers. So they have various topics that you can sign up for. So today you can visit, just not pictures. It's live through Zoom. And we have lots of really cool tours.
That's awesome. So can you tell us what a normal day in your life looks like being at the museum?
Oh, wonderful. Well, I'm going to tell you 2 days. I'm going to tell you a day of somebody who's in cybersecurity, because one of the things we want to interest you kids in, and one of the things that really impresses me about your K12 CyberTalk is the fact that I love your motto, so that people can know there's so much you can do in cybersecurity, and it's not just sitting behind a computer. It's just not computer science. It's the full spectrum of the educational environment. And I understand your last program, you had Davina in from NICE. NICE has the framework that we all use, the workforce framework, and that describes all the different jobs in cybersecurity. And when you go to cyberseek.org, cyberseek.org, that'll show you where all those jobs are. But when I was back in the National Security Agency and in my military career, and I'll talk about that when I was in the military. When I was over in the European theater, I was the chief of all the information assurance, the computer security, the cyber security for the European theater when we were going into Bosnia in that particular conflict called Joint Endeavor. And so my day was really 7 days a week. I would get up, luckily I lived on post, and so I walked to my office, and we would put together the plans and the procedures for what we needed to do in cybersecurity. We have a thing called communications security, or it's called ComSec. We love our acronyms. And so that communications security provided the encryption that you've just talked about for all the radios and the computers and the phones. And our office was the one who made sure all of those keys, the encryption, where you have to send the key to unlock that encryption, we were the ones who sent those keys out forward to the troops. So my day was really working those types of activities. Then another day, I was working, had an opportunity, and this is the neat thing about cybersecurity, there's lots of different jobs. I got the opportunity to be the national co-chairman of a NATO subcommittee that was in charge of information security policy implementation for all of NATO. And so my day looked there of talking with over 26 nations, deciding how to implement policy, developing policy on encryption standards. And when we talk about what is the key, all 26 nations had to decide on the common key that we were going to use. And so it takes a long time to negotiate. It takes a long time to work through those details. And so that day was much different than the day I was working when we were deploying into a combat theater. I was mainly having coffee around a table, trying to get people to agree to use a common standard. Then when I was in NSA, one of the opportunities I had was to work again with international partners in a thing called the Common Criteria. That was a process by which we test all the equipment. So your phones, your computers, the routers, the firewalls, the switches, all those electronics have to be tested to make sure they're secure. So we worked with over 31 nations throughout the world to determine what was the standards we were going to use to test those devices, that if I tested it in the United States, somebody in South Korea would use it without having to retest it. If it was tested in Germany by these standards, we could use it in the United States without having to retest it. So the people who made these devices were very happy about that, because they only had to do one test instead of a test in each country. So that day was totally different too. I'd be having Zoom calls at 5 o'clock at night so I could pick up the people in Korea, and at the same time pick up the people in the pub in Great Britain. So totally different days. And that's the fun part of cybersecurity. They're all different.
That is awesome. You sound like a pretty sharp around the edges type of guy. I mean, you've done a lot in your years of living. So I want to thank you so much for doing this interview with us. It was very, very nice to meet you. And I think I'm going to pass it back to Carissa.
Great. Thank you very much. And since you guys were passing on Thanksgiving traditions, I'll share you the one from my family. After Thanksgiving dinner, after the football games, we watch White Christmas to start the Christmas season off. So that's our tradition. We all sit around and watch Bing Crosby and Danny Kaye in White Christmas.
That's awesome.
Wow. An amazing tradition. Before you leave, Mr. Loepker, we just wanted to open up the questions to the audience. So if anyone in the audience had a question, we'll just wait a couple of seconds.
Would love to answer questions.
Okay, so we have one question. So I believe a student asked, what would you say to other students who may consider a career in this pathway? We have another one.
Right, I think it would be wonderful. What you need to do right now is exactly participate in this particular club. And to, I heard lots of great examples of understanding about cryptology, understanding about coding, understanding about math and science. It's the STEM courses. Those are very important. But also what's really important is curiosity. Curiosity is what cybersecurity is all about. To be curious about solving puzzles, figuring out why things work, taking the advantage of not just sitting around, but going and figuring out the problem. Those are the skills that make a good cybersecurity professional, is that curiosity. Sure, the math helps, the computer science, the coding, all that stuff helps. But if you're not curious, if you don't like to solve problems or puzzles, that's the key to cybersecurity.
Wow, that's so great. We also have one more final question from the audience. And he asked, how does the modern world depend on encryption?
Oh, that is a perfect question. And I think it's why we need you. When you look at cybersecurity or cyberseek.org, you'll see there's over 500,000 jobs unfilled today. And those jobs are starting in the salary range at entry level at around $75,000 a year. So right now, because of the shortage, the salaries are really good. But everything we have depends on encryption. The cell phones you're having, you talked about Instagram and Facebook and HTTPS. All of that is cybersecurity. There isn't a thing that we use today that isn't touched by cybersecurity. In fact, your refrigerator is connected to your home network. And unless that refrigerator is protected, it could be an entry point for a bad person to enter your home network without you knowing it. And that's why you need to have people who are designing these devices, what we call Internet of Things, from the adversary perspective. There are people out there who want to take advantage of these technologies, and we have to design them so that we thwart those adversaries from taking advantage. And that is the main job for the future.
Wow, that's amazing. We also received one more question. Sorry, you're very popular here.
No worries, happy to answer them.
Has anyone solved cryptos yet?
Has anybody solved what?
Cryptos.
Oh, cryptos. That's a competition? Because solving cryptos, I mean, cryptos is, cryptography that you talked about is the making and breaking of codes. And so, like the speaker said, the Caesar cipher is a piece of cake to break. What we make with, in fact, our speaker, Whit Diffie, will talk about the complexity of the algorithms that he built and the current algorithms or the current crypto we use today in the unclassified world. And even for some classified stuff, it's called the AES crypto, very difficult to break. And those cryptos are because they're all machine developed, and the key strengths are very long. So those cryptos are very difficult to break. And so that's why your passwords need to be something other than an English word, because cryptos can be broken by even your iPhone can break what we call dictionary passwords. So that's why you want to have very long and difficult passwords, but it can be nonsense words that you can remember, but it shouldn't just be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Unfortunately, we have to wrap up this interview, but this was a fantastic interview. So thank you once again, Mr. Mark Loepker, for joining here on the show. It's quite an honor to have you here. And this is the end of our second show. So we hope you guys all enjoyed it. Our next show will be 2 weeks from tonight on Thursday, December 8th. 8 p.m. EST and 5 p.m. PST, and we'll be talking more about competitions such as cyber-related ones and CTFs, so make sure to stay tuned for that. Also, once again, to keep up with more information, visit www.k12cybertalk.org. Thank you so much for watching, and we hope to catch you guys next time. Stay cyber safe and have a great evening, everyone. We will make sure to post the recording on YouTube later this week. Goodbye.